Okay, Einat, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
I am coming straight from the play Prisoners of the Occupation that is running here in Copenhagen and is going to run more than 20 times, and it's all sold out. It's an enormous success here. It was a kind of shattering experience to see this play, to like be in the cell with the political Palestinian prisoners and experience almost on your body the torture, mental, all ongoing mental torture, sometimes the physical torture, sometimes the sexual even harassment, and the starvation strikes, like the hunger strikes, and what that means. It was great it was terrible and great at the same time to get a perspective of what that life is like. I'm interested to hear the background of this play. Like, you are coming from Israel, you're an actress, and you moved into directing and creating theater, and you wrote this in Israel and tried to perform it. How did this get received in Israel?
So the play was programmed to a festival, a theater festival in Akka, and a few weeks later this play was banned on political ground. It was back in 2017. The banning of the play was followed by a huge media storm because all the other artists withdrew their plays from the festival. All the actors, all the directors, all the dancers, the artistic committee, and finally also the artistic director resigned. So the whole theater festival collapsed, and this year there were no theater festival, which made the Ministry of Culture back then, Miri Regev, to justify the banning and to say that this play is actually, it's not a censorship banning the play, but she said that I'm glorifying terrorists with blood on their hands. She repeated this in the parliament. This of course led to many attacks on me and on my family. I got death threats, and I thought that I would not ever be able to stage this play. So but this was only the beginning of a journey inside the prison, inside this subject.
Yes. The story of the others cancelling on the festival it sounds quite extraordinary and dramatic. Did they also say, were they in solidarity with you, or were they in solidarity with the subject? Did they say why they stood with you?
Yes, they all said that they stand for freedom of speech. So it was like a liberal statement for freedom of speech, and not a radical statement for the political prisoners. They were very it was very important to them to say that they stand for the freedom of speech. It's easier, of course, and I understand them. The fact that they did this act of being in solidarity and withdrew from the festival was very surprising, and I respect it, of course.
Right. So that was 2017, and the show did at some point get to be performed some years later, right?
Yes. So after the banning, of course, I was trying to go to other theaters in Israel, offering the play. I was knocking on closed doors. All the theater community was very supportive of me, and they told me, keep on going, be strong, we are with you. But no artistic director wanted to take the risk and stage the play, because it's a play that made so much noise and such a media storm that they didn't want to take the chance. So I was left alone, and that actually gave me the opportunity, because I thought, okay, nobody will do it. So if this is the situation, then I can even research it in a different way, not the way I thought at the beginning, because at the beginning I thought I will base the play on letters from within prison, and later I understood that of course all the letters are being read by the Secret Service, so it's not the information I wanted. And then I started to meet former prisoners, and together with them we mapped all the important things that are inside prison, what the important subjects that we have to talk about, and then we start to reconstruct from their memories. So this way...
just a second, if I may pause you. So you mean that when you are saying those letters are read by the Secret Service, you mean that the prisoners are already being cautious in what they are writing in the letters?
Yes.
And they are censoring themselves?
Of course, yes.
So you wanted to get the more full story?
Yes, I wanted the full story, and I know that there are dark spots in the Israeli apartheid that there is no way to document these spots. Like the prison, there are no cameras, there is no recording devices, there is no way to really know what is happening inside. So in this case, the theater was like a tool for me to show the undocumented spot. So this is why I was working with the prisoners, reconstructing from their memories, and I asked them, show me exactly how did you see it, what did he do, what size was the room. So all these little details were reconstructed in our research.
Right. So, for example, an interrogator torturing a prisoner, that is a description, what I've seen in the play itself. It's horrifying. This description will not go into a letter because they will just not do it. But you got the description because of your direct contact with these prisoners.
Yes, this is the only way. There are things that cannot be documented. So yes, so we have to rely on, and you know, of course, it's not one prisoner. I spoke with many prisoners, and only one prisoner was still in prison, and he is still this day in prison. That wrote one scene that was sent to me from within prison. This prisoner is Walid Daka. Unfortunately, he diagnosed with cancer, and now he is not in prison. He is in hospital, and there is a campaign now to immediate release of Walid Daka.
Yeah. I think he's been there for 30-something years, 37 years.
Yes. He was supposed to be out already, but because he got another 2 years when Basel Rattas was caught smuggling phones to him in prison. So 2 more years were added.
Yes. So I'm going back to the play in Israel, because now you said you researched it more thoroughly. You got direct testimonies, stories from these political prisoners. And now you performed it in Israel?
Finally, something happened, and for many political reasons, I could do it in some point in time. I mean, the Ministry of Culture back then, Miri Regev, was trying to legislate a law called the Loyalty in Art Law, and she didn't succeed. And when the law fell, I went to the theater. This was my cue to go to the theater and ask them, please, now let's do Prisoners of the Occupation. There is no law like this, that she will not be able to shut down the theater. And then the theater agreed with some restrictions. I had to take lawyers to go through everything I wrote. I couldn't do any public relations, but yes, I did stage Prisoners of the Occupation in Tel Aviv at the end of 2019.
Right. And it ran for how many?
Not many, because then COVID
right.
started.
Just before COVID.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a kind of struggle against the odds, as you're describing it. Like, it was a little bit by chance that the law didn't pass, and then you had a chance, but without the PR, it always some limitations. Yeah. I mean, but then you have now already performed the piece in Norway.
Yes.
And Japan.
Mm-hmm.
When was Norway?
Norway was 2020.
2020,
yes.
And then Japan recently, right? Last
yes.
year?
No, 2 months ago.
It was 2 months ago. Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Was it in Norwegian and Japanese?
Yes.
Yes. And now we are getting it in Denmark. Maybe this is the greatest amount of runs that you are having now?
Yes,
in Denmark,
here
in Copenhagen?
Denmark, yes.
And you've had like, I think, a dozen interviews with media, and you're getting like 5-star reviews in the biggest paper here, just heard, Politiken. Yes. So how does this feel like on top of all, like in comparison to the whole struggle from Israel and what you have here now?
This is so strange to me. You know, I come from Israel where so many people hate me, and you know, sometimes I just go down the street and people are addressing me and say, I'm so happy that you are unsuccessful. It was just before I came here, someone, he has so much hate in his eyes. So this is, I'm used to it, but...
someone who knew you, but you don't even know
No,
him.
I don't know him.
Yeah.
So coming here, first of all, I noticed that everywhere there are posters of Prisoners of the Occupation, which is so strange to me. Mm-hmm. It's like, what? Where am I? On the moon? Really, I felt hugged by the city. The minute I came, like everywhere I see the posters. And then the love of the audience and the way the media accept this play, is so surprising, and so it gives me so much hope that there is someone out there that is willing to hear this story, and it makes sense, and the audience doesn't think that they are terrorists and that the place should be shut down. And so this is like a miracle for me, for someone from where I came. It's really it fills me with a new energy.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yes.
I heard your story, but I suppose people who don't know you might think like, how did you even get here? I mean, you were a very successful Israeli actress, and on mainstream Israeli television, series and so on. And suddenly, at some point, you are making a cut and you are doing political theater as what you do. It's what you actually do, and it's costing you a huge price, as you're also telling. So what was the point of, where was the point of, was there a point of cutting from the mainstream and going into this very contentious area in Israel?
Yes, so of course there is a turning point in my life, which was in 2014, while the attack on Gaza. A picture of mine with the shirt with the Palestinian flag was uploaded to social media, and people thought that this picture was taken in 2006. Never mind, people thought that it was taken in 2014 while the attack on Gaza, and there were many calls to ban everything I do, not to watch my films, not to watch the TV series I'm playing in, and this was like a lynch that came from social media, of course with many threats on my life, and they will rape me in very creative ways, and the hate moved from social media to the streets because people knew me. So for quite some time it was really frightening to be me, walking alone in the streets. I tried not to go a lot outside, and if I did, friends of mine were accompanying me everywhere I went, and my agent back then told me, okay, if you want to save your career, you have to go to the media, to the press, and to apologize and to explain and to say that you stand for Israel, and otherwise I cannot send you to any more auditions. So I said, okay, so don't. And I had to process this, everything that happened to me, because it was, for someone who is used to get love, suddenly to be hate so much, and that I was cut out of the stage. It was I was not in a good psychological state. So I decided not to go to a therapy, but to take the experience and put it on stage. So this is how my first play, Shame, came about. I did my first play about the junction between art and politics, and I discovered, okay, it's...
You decided not to apologize. You said, I'm not apologizing.
No, I'm taking my activism to the stage.
Yeah.
being pushed out of the stage, I decided to bring my story
Yeah.
to the stage. This was my first play. And then I realized that theatre is quite an effective tool, and that I will move all my activism to the stage. I will use my privileges as an Israeli white Jew in Israel in order to bring the Palestinian narrative. All the things that are almost impossible for Palestinian artists, Palestinians in general, to talk about. It's easier for me. Yeah, I can be banned, but I will not till now be imprisoned for my artwork. So this is what I do since then.
Yeah. Have your other series, films, and so on, have they been cancelled, or is there like, are you considered a performer non grata in Israel? Or?
I'm not playing anymore in Israeli TV. People are afraid to work with me. I'm experiencing it time and again. That people are afraid to work with me because I'm really tagged as radical left, like a traitor.
Yeah.
It's easier for me to work with Palestinians than with Israelis.
Yeah. And something happened in the recent years, or maybe just year, that suddenly before the recent elections, I mean, you entered the politics like the Balad party, the Palestinian party, or Balad, how do you say it in Arabic correctly?
Tajamwa.
Tajamwa, party that represents mostly Palestinians, wants a secular democratic state, one secular democratic state. And you join this party, and suddenly before the elections, you are suddenly number 6 on their list. They didn't quite make the threshold. There was a split with them and Ta'al Hadash in the so-called joint list, and they didn't quite make it on their own. But potentially, you were very close. So how is this like getting into politics? I mean, you are not coming from a kind of a professional political background, right?
Yes, I'm not. I'm an artist, and the art I do, the form, the way I do theatre is a political form, because of course the play itself is very important to me, but there is something more important, and this is the alliances it creates and the communities that are around the subject. Like now I have a community with political prisoners, ex-political prisoners, and prisoners that are still within prison, and unconsciously I build myself a political platform without even noticing all these communities, because before Prisoners of the Occupation I did another play about house demolishing, and I still very active in the community of El Arakib. El Arakib is a Bedouin village that was demolished 215 times till today. So since then, since 2016 when I did the play, I still work with El Arakib, so this is another community. And through these communities, every play I create a community and I work with them. Yeah. So the tool is art, but it's politics. So, but I admit I couldn't imagine that this is what I'm doing. I'm doing politics. It was unconsciously, and I myself was surprised to find myself number 6 in the party that I admired and supported from far.
Yeah. When did you actually enter the party? Was it last year or?
In the recent elections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where you got into.
Then it was the first time I was a candidate. I was number 6.
Yeah.
I was always supportive of the party, and I was always close to the leadership, but I didn't imagine I will be part of them.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I would like to ask you, like towards the end of this, now that this play it has performed, as mentioned, you had Norway, Japan, now in Denmark, maybe one day in USA, who knows, and so on and so forth. There was someone from Holland here, or had a contact in Holland, I heard, and
right.
but I mean it's getting around the world. What do you envision or imagine that this might do, a play like this?
A success for me is when people are going out of my play and say, okay, what can I do? I want people to be active, moved and active, or like to do something. This is the thing that is, if someone go out and tell me, okay, tell me, how can we get engaged? Please give me tools. This is the success.
Yeah. Do you have any direct or actual answers for them in terms of tools, or you don't?
There are so many things that people can do, so many things. Yes, so there are many options. You can be active in so many different ways. You can be active only on social media, but I have friends that are going every Saturday to the Jordan Valley to accompany Palestinians and protect them from settlers. There are many kinds of activism, so yes, there is a lot to do, of course. And especially but also if you are outside of Israel-Palestine, from different countries, it's very important to be vocal with the Palestinian rights.
Right. So I can absolutely see why Miri Regev tried to ban your show. If she knew that it would get around the world like this, maybe she would even make a greater effort.
Right.
But she has not succeeded, and you have. And I wish you all the best of success in the future of this venture. Thank you very much.
Thank you.